The Starlight Cinema in Green Bay has been showing midnight movies since 1957, but Theater 3 only opens once a month for a special screening that's never advertised. The seats are always full anyway. 47 people exactly. Never more. Never less. They file in silently at 11:45 p.m., take their seats, and wait. I thought they were members of some weird film club until I checked the ticket records. Nobody bought tickets. The register shows 0 sales. But every seat in Theater 3 is occupied, and when I shine my flashlight down the rows during my rounds, 47 faces turn toward me at the exact same moment, their eyes reflecting the light like animals. My name's Ethan Novak, and I've been cleaning this place for 3 months now. The Starlight sits on Washington Street, wedged between a closed-down Shopco and a bar called the Rusty Tap. Most nights, I'm dealing with spilled soda in Theater 1 or scraping gum off seats in Theater 2. Normal janitor stuff. The pay's garbage, $9.50 an hour. But I needed something after my dad's medical bills ate through our savings. Bowen Hospital doesn't offer payment plans for stage 4 lung cancer. My supervisor, Dale Kruger, handed me a laminated card on my first day. Rules for Theater 3. The header read, 7 numbered items in faded typewriter font. Dale didn't make eye contact when he explained them, just pushed the card across his desk and told me to keep it in my pocket during overnight shifts. Theater 3 is different, he said, scratching at the Packers logo on his coffee mug. Follow the list. Don't ask questions. I should have walked away then, found work at the paper mill in Ashwaubenon or the cheese plant on the east side. But Dad's prescriptions cost $1,200 a month, and the Starlight was hiring immediately. No background check. Cash under the table if I wanted it. The first screening happened 2 weeks into the job. I was mopping the lobby when I heard them. Footsteps on the carpet, dozens of them, all moving in the same rhythm. The front doors were locked. I'd checked them myself at 11, but when I looked up from my bucket, people were streaming past me toward Theater 3. Men in suits from the 70s, women in outdated dresses, a kid in a Green Bay Packers jersey from before the logo redesign. None of them looked at me. They moved like they were following invisible rails, turning corners at exact angles, choosing seats with mathematical precision. I counted them. 47. Then I remembered rule number 1 on Dale's card. Never count the audience members in Theater 3. My hand went to my pocket. The laminated card felt warm against my fingers. Tonight marks the monthly screening again. It's 11:32 p.m., and I can already hear the lobby doors opening on their own. 47 sets of footsteps. And this time, one of those seats has my name on it. I pulled the laminated card from my pocket and held it under the lobby's exit sign. The red light made the text look like it was bleeding. Rules for Theater 3. Night maintenance staff. Never count the audience members in Theater 3. If someone asks you for popcorn after 11:40 p.m., give them an empty bag. They will thank you and leave. The film projector in Theater 3 runs on its own. Do not touch the equipment room door during screenings. If you hear children laughing in Theater 3 before the audience arrives, turn on every light in the building immediately. Clean Theater 3 only after the audience has left. They will leave exactly at 1:17 a.m. If you see your reflection in the lobby mirrors wearing different clothes, avoid Theater 3 that night. Never watch the screen during the monthly screening. Face the exit at all times. The paper felt wrong against my skin. Too smooth, like it had been laminated recently, even though the typewriter font suggested decades of age. I'd violated rule number 1 already, counted them right in front of Theater 3's entrance while they filed past. Nothing happened. No supernatural punishment. No sudden darkness. Just 47 people taking their seats in perfect silence. Maybe Dale was messing with new hires. Maybe this was some elaborate prank the overnight staff pulled on anyone desperate enough to take the graveyard shift. I'd heard stories about the Starlight from my cousin Jessie. She worked concessions here in the 90s, before they cut the staff down to skeleton crews. She never mentioned Theater 3, though. Never said a word about monthly screenings or weird rules. I tucked the card back in my pocket and grabbed my cleaning cart from the storage closet near the bathrooms. The wheels squeaked as I pushed it toward Theater 1. Friday night showings always left a mess. Crushed milk duds ground into the carpet, sticky patches where someone spilled their cherry Coke. Normal stuff. The kind of work that didn't require a list of supernatural guidelines. Theater 1 smelled like artificial butter and teenage cologne. I started in the back row, picking up popcorn kernels and candy wrappers. My phone said 11:47 p.m. The monthly screening in Theater 3 would be starting soon. I could hear the old projector humming through the walls, a deep mechanical sound that vibrated in my teeth. The projector shouldn't be running. Dale told me the building was fully digital now, that they'd gutted the old film equipment in 2009. But that sound was definitely coming from Theater 3, and it definitely wasn't digital. I worked faster, filling my trash bag with the debris of other people's Friday nights. A torn ticket stub, a phone number written on a napkin, someone's earring under seat J7. I logged the earring in my notebook, protocol for lost items, and moved to the middle rows. That's when I heard it. A voice from the lobby, high-pitched and small. "Excuse me? Could I get some popcorn?" I left my cart and walked back to the lobby. A girl stood near the concession stand, maybe 7 or 8 years old. She wore a yellow sundress with white flowers, the kind you'd see in old Sears catalogs. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail with a green scrunchie. The concession stand had been closed since 9. The popcorn machine was off, cooling down, the leftover kernels at the bottom starting to harden. "We're closed," I said. "Sorry." She tilted her head. "But I can smell it. The popcorn. It smells really good." I checked my phone. 11:44 p.m. 4 minutes until the screening started. Rule number 2 flickered in my mind. If someone asks you for popcorn after 11:40 p.m., give them an empty bag. "Hold on," I said. I went behind the concession stand and grabbed one of the medium bags from the stack near the register. Empty. Just red and white striped paper folded at the top. I handed it to her. She took it with both hands, carefully, like I'd given her something precious. "Thank you," she said. Her voice sounded far away, like she was speaking from the other end of a long hallway. Then she turned and walked toward the exit. The front doors were still locked. I'd checked them twice, but she walked through them anyway. Not opened them. Walked through the glass, like it was mist. I stood there holding the edge of the concession stand, watching the space where she'd disappeared. My phone buzzed. A text from Dale. "Stay out of Theater 3 tonight." Seriously. The projector hum grew louder. I could hear people settling into their seats, the rustle of fabric, the creak of old springs. 47 people watching something I wasn't supposed to see. I grabbed my cart and wheeled it toward Theater 2, keeping my back to Theater 3's entrance. Theater 2 was empty. 6 rows of burgundy seats, facing a blank screen, the emergency exit signs casting a dull green glow across the walls. I swept the aisles, even though nobody had been in here tonight. Friday's late show was a Marvel movie in Theater 1, and the Sunday matinee crowd hadn't touched this room since last weekend. But I needed something to do. Something normal. Something that didn't involve little girls phasing through locked doors or audiences that appeared without buying tickets. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Dale. "Did you follow rule number 2? I typed back, "Yes." She walked through the door. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Good. Don't go near T3 until 1:17. I mean it, Ethan. I shoved the phone in my pocket and kept sweeping. The bristles scraped against the concrete floor, pushing dust and fossilized popcorn kernels into neat piles. My dad used to say manual labor was meditation, if you let it be. Focus on the task. Let your mind go quiet. That lasted about 3 minutes. The projector hum from Theater 3 changed pitch. Lower now, almost a growl. I could feel it through the walls, through the floor, vibrating up through my shoes. The building was old. Built in 1947, according to the faded dedication plaque near the bathrooms. But this felt older, like the sound was coming from somewhere beneath the foundation. I checked my phone. 12:03 a.m., over an hour until the screening ended. Rule number 5 was clear. Clean Theater 3 only after the audience has left. They will leave exactly at 1:17 a.m. Specific time, not around 1:20 or after midnight. Exactly 1:17. I dumped my dustpan into the trash bag and wheeled my cart toward the lobby. The Starlight's layout was simple. 3 theaters branching off a central lobby, concession stand against the north wall, bathrooms and storage to the east. Theater 3 was the smallest, wedged in the back corner where the building met the alley behind Washington Street. The door to Theater 3 was closed. Red light leaked from the gap underneath. Not the normal glow of an exit sign, but something deeper. Crimson, like looking at a sunset through a bottle of cherry cough syrup. I walked past it. It didn't look too long. Rule number 7. Never watch the screen during the monthly screening. The equipment room was next to Theater 3's entrance, a narrow door marked "Staff Only" in peeling vinyl letters. Dale's 3rd rule was explicit. Do not touch the equipment room door during screenings. I wasn't touching it, just walking past. Totally different. But as I pushed my cart toward the lobby, I heard something inside the equipment room. Not the projector. That was louder, coming from Theater 3 itself. This was different. Smaller. Like someone flipping through pages of a book. I stopped. My hand went to the laminated card in my pocket. Rule number 3. Don't touch the door. The page flipping sound continued. Steady. Rhythmic. Someone was in there, going through something. Maybe Dale had come in early for the overnight check-in. Maybe it was Jerry, the weekend projectionist who sometimes stayed late to catalog old film reels. I knocked. 3 soft tops. The page flipping stopped. Dale, I said. That you? Nothing. Then I heard footsteps inside, light, quick, moving away from the door. Moving deeper into the equipment room, which shouldn't have been possible because the equipment room was barely 8 feet deep. I'd been in there during orientation. It was a closet with metal shelving, boxes of old promotional posters, and a dusty circuit breaker panel. No room for footsteps that kept going. I'm going. I'm going. I pressed my ear against the door. The footsteps faded like someone walking down a long hallway, getting farther away with each step. Then I heard a new sound. Film reels spinning, that distinctive clicking whir of old celluloid running through a projector. My phone buzzed. Dale again. Equipment room? I just knocked on the door. Didn't open it. The 3 dots took forever. Get away from there. Now. Go to the parking lot if you have to. I stepped back from the door. The red light under Theater 3's entrance was brighter now, pulsing slightly, like something breathing. What's in there? I typed. Dale's response came fast. Same thing that's on the screen. Don't look. Just clean Theaters 1 and 2 until 1:17. I wanted to ask more. wanted to demand actual answers instead of cryptic warnings and rules typed on laminated cards. But the projector hum was getting louder, and the air near Theater 3 felt wrong, too warm, pressing against my skin like I was standing too close to an oven. I wheeled my cart back to Theater 1. The Starlight was built during Green Bay's industrial boom, back when the meatpacking plants on Broadway were running 3 shifts, and the paper mills were hiring anyone who could work a machine. This place used to show double features every night. Packed houses watching John Wayne and Humphrey Bogart while the Fox River froze solid outside. My grandpa came here on dates, back before he married my grandma. Said the Starlight had the coldest air conditioning in Brown County. Now it was 3 screens showing whatever Marvel or DC movie hit the algorithm right, plus whatever indie film Dale could get for cheap. And Theater 3, which only opened once a month for an audience that didn't exist. I picked up trash in Theater 1, working on autopilot. A torn napkin. Somebody's grocery receipt from Festival Foods. A tube of lip balm that rolled under seat M12. 12:34 a.m. 43 more minutes. That's when I heard the children laughing. High-pitched, bright, coming from Theater 3. Multiple voices overlapping, the kind of laughter you'd hear on a playground during recess. Happy sounds, innocent. Rule number 4. If you hear children laughing in Theater 3 before the audience arrives, turn on every light in the building immediately. But the audience was already there. 47 people sitting in perfect silence, watching whatever was on that screen. So did the rules still apply? Was this a different situation? Dale's car didn't have footnotes or exceptions. The laughter continued, getting louder. I made a choice. I ran to the lobby and started hitting light switches. The overheads buzzed to life, fluorescent tubes that turned the Starlight's lobby from dim red and green to harsh white. I hit every switch I could find. Theater 1's house lights. Theater 2. Even the exterior marquee lights that spelled out Starlight in bulbs that hadn't all worked since 2015. The laughter stopped. The building went silent, except for that projector hum, which was now so low I could barely hear it. My phone. "What did you do?" Rule number 4, I typed back. Heard kids laughing. Long pause, then, audience was already inside. You didn't need to hit the lights. What happens now? Dale didn't respond. I stood in the lobby, surrounded by brightness, staring at Theater 3's closed door. The red light underneath was gone. If you like the stories, please hype the videos from a button like this just above the comment section. It helps the videos to get more reach and perform well. It would take just a few seconds and cost nothing, but would help the channel grow even faster. Thank you. I turned off most of the lights, left just the lobby overheads and the exit signs. The Starlight settled back into its usual darkness, that red and green glow making everything look like an old photograph. 12:51 a.m. 26 minutes until the audience left. My cart was still in Theater 1, half full of trash. I should have gone back to finish the job, but I couldn't stop staring at Theater 3's door. The red light was gone from underneath. Just darkness now. Not even the normal gap of ambient light you'd expect. Complete black, like the space under the door led to nothing. I walked closer. Stopped about 5 feet away. Close enough to hear if anything was happening inside, far enough to run if I needed to. The projector had gone silent. No hum, no mechanical clicking, just quiet. But I could hear something else. Breathing. Slow, steady, coming from inside Theater 3. Not one person. Multiple people, all breathing in sync. 47 people inhaling and exhaling at the exact same moment. My phone buzzed. Text from Dale. "You still in the building?" "Yes. Theater 3 is quiet now. Leave. Get in your car. Come back at 1:20. My shift ends at 6 a.m. I need the hours. 3 dots. Then, not worth it tonight. You triggered something with the lights. I thought about my dad in his hospital bed at Bellin, the oxygen tubes running to his nose, the monitors beeping next to him, the billing statements that came every week, each one thicker than the last. I needed this job. Needed every hour Dale would give me. "I'm staying," I typed. Dale didn't respond. I grabbed my cart from Theater 1 and wheeled it to the lobby. The clock above the concession stand said 12:58. 19 minutes. I could wait 19 minutes. I sat on the bench near the front entrance, the one where people used to line up for tickets, back when the Starlight had actual ticket windows instead of a self-serve kiosk. The vinyl was cracked, peeling at the edges, showing the yellow foam underneath. My grandpa told me stories about this place. How he proposed to my grandma in Theater 2 during the showing of Casablanca in 1958. How they'd come here every Friday for years, even after the good theaters opened up at the Bay Park Square Mall. The Starlight was special to them. Sacred, almost. I wondered if he'd ever sat through a screening in Theater 3. If he'd known about the rules, the monthly audiences, the strange occurrences that Dale's laminated card tried to explain. 1:04 a.m. 13 minutes. The breathing inside Theater 3 stopped. I stood up, listening. Nothing. Complete silence. Then the door opened. Not slowly, not creaking on old hinges. It just opened, swinging inward smoothly, revealing the theater's interior. Empty seats. All 47 of them. No audience, no people. The screen was dark, the projector silent. But something was wrong with the air. It looked thicker inside Theater 3, like I was staring into a room filled with water. Light bent strangely around the doorframe, creating colors that shouldn't exist. Not purple, not blue. Something in between that hurt to look at. Rule number 5. Clean Theater 3 only after the audience has left. They will leave exactly at 1:17 a.m. It was 1:06. They hadn't left. They'd just disappeared. I grabbed my flashlight from the cart and shined it into Theater 3. The beam bent as it entered the room, curving down toward the floor like it was being pulled by gravity. When the light hit the seats, I saw them. Not people. Impressions. The seats were compressed like someone was still sitting in them. 47 seats, each one dented in the exact shape of a human body. I could see the creases in the fabric where backs had pressed, where arms had rested. The air smelled wrong. Copper and something else. Ozone, like right before a thunderstorm. My phone rang. Not a text this time. An actual call from Dale. I answered. "Yeah?" "Get out of the building." His voice was strained, almost a whisper. "Right now, Ethan. Don't argue. Just go." The door opened early. Theater 3 is... I know. I'm watching the security feed from home. That's not supposed to happen until 1:17. What changed? Dale was quiet for a moment. I could hear him breathing into the phone. "You turned on the lights during the screening. That's never happened before. The rules are breaking down." "What rules?" "You mean your card?" "The rules that keep them contained. Keep them in Theater 3 during the screening. When you hit the lights, you disrupted something." I looked at the empty theater, the compressed seats, the bent light. "What are they?" "People who died here. 1963. Carbon monoxide leak during the midnight showing of The Birds, all 47 of them. The theater covered it up, Blamed it on the cold that winter. Said people got sick from a flu outbreak. The number clicked into place. 47 people. Exactly 47 every month. Why do they come back? I asked. They don't know they're dead. They think they're just watching movies. The screening gives them somewhere to be. Something to do. As long as the rules are followed, they stay in Theater 3. They don't wander. And when the rules break... Dale's voice dropped lower. Check the lobby mirrors. I turned around. 3 mirrors hung on the wall near the bathrooms. Old Art Deco pieces from the Starlight's original construction. My reflection stared back at me from each one. Except it wasn't wearing my clothes. The reflection on the left showed me in a suit. Dark gray, thin tie, pocket square. Something from the 60s. The middle mirror showed me in my normal janitorial uniform. Navy blue shirt, name tag, dirty sneakers. The right mirror showed me in clothes I didn't recognize. A burgundy cardigan, pressed slacks, loafers. Rule number 6. If you see your reflection in the lobby mirrors wearing different clothes, avoid Theater 3 that night. Too late for that. Dale, I said into the phone. What do I do? The screening has to finish. 1:17, the audience leaves. That's when the loop resets. But if you're seeing different clothes in the mirrors, it means you're being pulled in. They're trying to make you part of the audience. How do I stop it? You don't look at the screen. That's rule number 7. No matter what, you don't look at what they're watching. I could hear something now, a sound coming from Theater 3. Film reels spinning, that old celluloid clicking through a projector. The screen was lighting up, showing grainy footage. Dale, the movie's starting. Don't look at it. Face the exit. Wait until 1:17. My phone died. Battery just gone, dropping from 42% to 0 in an instant. I stood in the lobby, alone, with the sound of the projector behind me. The compressed seats, the bent light, the mirrors showing me in clothes I'd never owned. 1:09 ORM, 8 minutes. Something moved in Theater 3. I heard fabric rustling, weight shifting on the seats. The audience was returning. Or maybe they'd never left. Maybe they'd been there the whole time, just invisible until the projector started again. 47 people, breathing in unison. And from the screen, I heard a voice, a child's voice. Ethan, is that you? My dad's voice. Young, healthy, the way he sounded in home videos from before I was born. Ethan, come watch this. It's your birthday party, remember? You were 6 years old. I knew it was a trick. Knew it wasn't real. But my legs were moving anyway, carrying me toward Theater 3's entrance. Just one look, the voice said. Just see what we're watching. My hand was on the door frame. I could feel the bent light against my skin, warm and wrong. Rule number 7. Never watch the screen. I closed my eyes and turned around, facing the lobby exit. 1:14 a.m., 3 more minutes. I kept my eyes shut, focused on the exit sign's glow bleeding through my eyelids, that red light that meant safety, that meant outside, that meant the parking lot where my Chevy pickup was waiting. The voice from the screen changed. Not my dad anymore. Someone else. Ethan Novak. A woman's voice. Formal, like a teacher calling roll. Seat A1, front row. Your name is on the ticket. I pressed my palms against my closed eyes. Pushed hard enough to see phosphenes, those bright spots that bloom in darkness when you apply pressure. Anything to keep from opening them, from turning around, from looking at that screen. You're late, the woman said. The the film has already started. Footsteps behind me, light, precise, moving down the aisle of Theater 3. Not one person, multiple people. The audience was standing up, leaving their seats, walking toward me. I could smell them now. Not decay, not rot. Something worse, the absence of smell. Like breathing vacuum, like standing next to something that consumed air instead of displacing it. 1:15 a.m. 2 minutes. We saved you a seat. A man's voice this time, older, weathered. Right up front, best view in the house. My back was still to Theater 3. I could feel them behind me, close enough that their presence changed the temperature. The air got colder with each breath they took. "Just turn around," the woman said. "Just watch what we're watching." I thought about rule number 1. Never count the audience members. I'd already broken that one in the intro, counting all 47 of them as they filed past. Nothing happened then. No immediate consequence. But maybe the consequences were cumulative. Maybe breaking one rule made the others weaker, made the boundaries more porous. The footsteps stopped. They were right behind me now, close enough that I could hear fabric rustling, suits, dresses, the clothing of people who died in 1963 believing they were just watching a movie on a normal Friday night. "Look at the screen, Ethan." My dad's voice again, but wrong now. Too flat, like someone reading phonetically from a script. "It's your birthday. You're 6 years old. There's cake. Candles. Your mother is singing. My mother died when I was 4. Aneurysm. I never had a 6th birthday party with her." But the voice kept going. "She's right here, on the screen, singing to you. Don't you want to see her?" 1:16 a.m. 1 minute. Something touched my shoulder. Fingers, light as paper. They rested there, not gripping, just present. A gentle pressure that might have been comforting in any other context. "We're not trying to hurt you," the woman said. "We just want you to understand." "Understand what?" I managed to say. My voice sounded strange, distant. "That this is where you belong. Where you've always belonged." More hands on my shoulders now. On my arms. Not pulling, not forcing. Just touching. Claiming. The way you'd place your hand on something that belonged to you. I opened my eyes but kept facing forward. The lobby looked normal. Cracked vinyl bench. Ancient posters for movies nobody remembered. The ticket kiosk's screen flickering with its screensaver. The Starlight Cinema exactly as it had been for decades. Except the mirrors were wrong. All 3 of them now showed me wearing the suit. The gray one from the 60s. I watched my reflection's mouth move. Watched it mouth words I wasn't saying. "Turn around." "You're one of us," a child's voice said behind me. Young, maybe 8 or 9. "You just don't remember yet." The projector clicked and whirred. I could hear the film jumping, that distinctive sound when celluloid slips off the sprockets and has to rethread itself. Whatever they were watching was old, real film, not digital, the kind of thing that required actual maintenance, actual care. 1:17 a.m. The hands released me, all at once, like they'd been commanded to let go. I heard them turn, heard 47 people moving in perfect synchronization, walking back to their seats. The rustling of fabric stopped. The temperature returned to normal. I waited 30 seconds. Then I turned around. Theater 3 was empty again. Every seat unoccupied, the screen dark, the projector silent. The door still open, showing that bent light, that water-thick air. But something was different. There was a ticket on the floor, right at the threshold between the lobby and Theater 3. A small rectangle of cardboard, printed with old-fashioned lettering. Starlight Cinema. Theater 3, admit 1 seat. A1 February 8th, 1963. Today's date, November 6th, 2025. But the year on the ticket read 1963. I picked it up. The cardboard felt normal, slightly worn. Someone had written on the back in pencil, "Next month." My phone vibrated in my pocket. Somehow it was working again, battery back at 42%. Text from Dale. "Did you make it to 117? "Yes. They let me go." "Good. Clean the theater, follow protocol. I'll be there at 6. I grabbed my card and pushed it toward Theater 3. The bent light was gone now. The air looked normal. Just a theater, empty and waiting to be cleaned. I stepped inside. The temperature was wrong. Not cold. Comfortable. Room temperature, maybe 70 degrees. But it felt too perfect, too controlled, like being inside a thermostat's ideal setting. I started in the back row, picking up debris that shouldn't have been there. Popcorn kernels, candy wrappers, a napkin with lipstick marks. Physical evidence that 47 people had sat here, eaten here, existed here. But they hadn't. Not really. They died 62 years ago. I worked down the rows methodically. Each seat had that compressed look, like someone had been sitting in it moments before. The fabric was warm, not hot, just warm. Body heat, lingering. When I reached the front row, I saw it. Seat A1. There was an impression in the cushion. Human-shaped. My size. My weight distribution. Like I'd been sitting there for the entire screening. I looked at the screen. It was dark. Dead. But I could see a reflection in the black glass. My reflection, sitting in seat A1, watching something I couldn't see. The reflection turned its head and looked directly at me, smiled. Then it was gone. Just blank screen again. I finished cleaning quickly, filled my trash bag with evidence of an audience that existed only once a month. Only in this room, only for 90 minutes starting at 11:45 p.m. As I left Theater 3, I checked the ticket stub in my pocket. The one that said, "Next month." The pencil writing on the back had changed. Now it read, "You looked. Seat A1 is waiting." But I hadn't looked. I'd kept my eyes closed, faced the exit, followed rule number 7 perfectly. Except for one moment. One instant when I'd opened my eyes to check the mirrors. And maybe that was enough. Maybe the screen's reflection counted. Maybe they'd found their loophole. I locked Theater 3's door and wheeled my cart back to the storage closet. My shift didn't end until 6, but I was done with Theater 3 for the night. As I passed the lobby mirrors, all 3 reflections showed me in that gray suit. And in the background, barely visible, 47 people stood in the darkness behind me, waiting. I didn't turn around, didn't check if they were really there. Just kept walking toward Theater 1, where the work was normal and the rules made sense. My phone buzzed one more time. Dale. Next month, call in sick. I wanted to never come back to the Starlight, never clean Theater 3 again. But I needed the money. Dad's next treatment cycle started in 3 weeks, so I typed back, "I'll be here." The rest of my shift passed without incident. I cleaned Theaters 1 and 2, emptied all the trash cans, mopped the lobby floor. Normal work. The kind of routine that should have been boring, but felt like a gift after what happened in Theater 3. Dale showed up at 5:47 a.m., 13 minutes early. He looked like he hadn't slept. Gray stubble, wrinkled flannel shirt, eyes that kept darting toward Theater 3's closed door. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know." He pulled out a folding chair from the storage closet and sat down heavily. 56 years old, according to his employee file. Worked at the Starlight since 1989. Long enough to know things. Long enough to understand what happened in Theater 3 once a month. "Show me the ticket," he said. I handed him the stub. He read the back, his jaw tightening. "You looked. Seat A1 is waiting." I didn't watch the screen. I followed rule number 7. But you saw something. A reflection, maybe. Something that counted as looking. I told him about the mirrors, about opening my eyes for just a moment to ground myself, to prove the lobby was still real, about seeing the screen's reflection in the dark glass. Dale rubbed his face. "That's enough. The rules aren't about literal compliance. They're about intent, about keeping your attention away from what they want you to see. What do they want me to see? Your death. Everyone in that audience died watching a movie. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Peaceful, painless. They went to sleep during the screening and never woke up. That's what they want to show you. How easy it is. How comfortable." He stood up and walked to the concession stand. Poured himself a cup of coffee from the machine that should have been empty, but somehow still had a quarter pot left. The coffee smelled burnt, acrid. "The building inspector came through in 1964, Dale continued. "After the deaths. Checked the heating system, the ventilation, everything. Found a crack in the furnace exhaust pipe. Carbon monoxide had been leaking into Theater 3 for months. Small amounts, not enough to kill quickly, just enough to make people drowsy during late showings. Why didn't they tear it down? Rebuild? Money. The Starlight was barely profitable even back then. The owner patched the pipe, installed new ventilation, told everyone it was fixed. 47 wrongful death settlements nearly bankrupted him, but he kept the theater running." Dale took a sip of his coffee and winced. "Thing is, I don't think the pipe ever got fixed properly." "Not really. I think there's still a leak. Small, intermittent, just enough to affect people who spend too much time in Theater 3. My head felt fuzzy. Had felt that way since I'd stepped into Theater 3 to clean it. I'd blamed it on exhaustion, on stress from the supernatural encounter. But maybe it wasn't supernatural at all. "You're saying the ghosts aren't real?" I asked. "I'm saying I don't know what's real. Maybe there's a leak and we're all hallucinating. Maybe the 47 people really do come back once a month. Maybe it's both. The gas makes us susceptible to seeing them." He finished his coffee and dropped the cup in the trash. "Either way, you need to stay away from Theater 3 next month. I'll handle the cleaning. You said you'd be 60 in March, that you were retiring. Plans change." I drove home as the sun came up over the bay. Green Bay looked peaceful at dawn, frost on the grass, ice forming on puddles, the sky turning pink over the Howard Swamico area. My apartment was a studio on the east side, 3rd floor of a converted house that smelled like old carpet and whoever was cooking breakfast downstairs. I slept until 2 in the afternoon. Dreamless, heavy sleep that left me feeling worse when I woke up. My phone had 7 missed calls, 6 from Dale, 1 from Bellin Hospital. I called the hospital first. The nurse said my dad had a good night, stable vitals, no complications. He was asking for me. I drove to Bellin and found him in room 447, same place he'd been for 3 weeks. Oxygen tubes, IV drip, monitors displaying numbers I'd learned to interpret. Heart rate steady, blood pressure decent, oxygen saturation at 93%. "Hey, kiddo," he said. His voice was raspy, worn down by the breathing tube they'd removed last Thursday. "Hey, Dad, you look terrible. Long night at work?" He studied me with eyes that saw too much. Always had. Even when he was healthy, he could read me like I was printed on paper. "Something happened," he said. "Just weird stuff at the theater. Old building, strange sounds. Nothing serious. Your grandpa used to talk about that place, the Starlight. Said there was something wrong with it after 1963. Wouldn't go back, even though your grandma loved the movies." I sat in the visitor chair. Vinyl and metal, designed for short stays. Did he ever say why? He was there that night. February 8th, 1963. Brought your grandma to see a Hitchcock film. They were in Theater 2, but he remembered seeing people go into Theater 3. Said they looked wrong, like they were sleepwalking. He saw the screening? He saw people entering a theater for a midnight show, that's all. When the ambulances came later, he put it together. Realized he'd been there the same night 47 people died. Dad shifted in his bed, grimacing. He told me once that he could have stopped it. Could have said something to the staff about how strange those people looked. But he was on a date, wanted to impress your grandma. So he said nothing. It wasn't his fault. He knew that, logically, but guilt doesn't care about logic. I stayed with him until visiting hours ended at 8. We talked about small things, his physical therapy schedule, the Packers game he'd missed Sunday, whether Medicare would cover the new treatment his oncologist recommended. Normal things, real things. But when I left and walked through Bellin's parking garage, I saw my reflection in a car window. Gray suit, thin tie, pocket square. I blinked and I was wearing my normal clothes again. Jeans, Carhartt jacket, boots with salt stains from last winter. The reflection had changed for just a moment. Just long enough to remind me that something was coming. I called Dale on the drive back to my apartment. He answered on the first ring. "I've been trying to reach you," he said. I was at the hospital. "What's wrong?" "I went into Theater 3 today, during daylight. Wanted to check something." I waited. "The seats," Dale said. "All 47 of them. They're compressed, like someone's been sitting in them constantly since last night. They were empty when I finished cleaning." "I know, but now they're not. And Ethan, seat A1 is sinking, like someone heavy is sitting there, getting heavier every hour." I pulled over on Webster Avenue, parked near the BP station. "What does that mean?" "I think they're holding space for you. Claiming it. Making sure it's ready when you come back." "I'm not going back. You said you'd handle it next month." "That might not matter. The rules are breaking down, remember? You disrupted something when you turned on the lights, when you saw the reflection. The boundaries are weaker now." Dale's voice dropped. "I did some research. Called the county clerk's office. Pulled records from 1963. The people who died in Theater 3. I have their names, their addresses. I drove past some of them today." "Why?" "Because I needed to know if they were real. If the deaths actually happened the way everyone says." He was quiet for a moment, then, "Ethan, one of the addresses was on Fisk Street. Small house near the bridge. I looked it up on Google Maps, checked the property records. And your grandpa owned that house from 1961 to 1972. That doesn't mean anything. Lots of people lived on Fisk Street. One of the victims was named Joseph Novak, age 32, married, one son. He worked at the paper mill on Broadway. Joseph Novak. My grandpa's name. That's impossible, I said. My grandpa died in 2003. Heart attack. I was at the funeral. I'm just telling you what the records say. Joseph Novak, age 32, died February 8, 1963, in Theater 3 of the Starlight Cinema. Carbon monoxide poisoning. I ended the call. Sat in my truck with the engine running, heat blasting, hands shaking. My grandpa had lived until 2003. I had memories, Christmas dinners, fishing trips to Sturgeon Bay, him teaching me to drive in the Shopco parking lot. Real memories, solid, but there was a gap in those memories. A fuzziness around certain details. Like I was remembering someone else's grandfather. Like the memories had been borrowed. I drove back to the Starlight, parked in the empty lot behind the theater. The building looked benign in daylight. Worn brick, faded marquee, a dumpster overflowing with popcorn bags. The back entrance was unlocked. I walked through the storage area and into the lobby. Theater 3's door was open. I could see the seats from here. All 47 of them compressed, holding the shapes of bodies that had been dead for 62 years. And seat A1, front row, right side, was compressed deeper than the others. So deep the springs were visible, metal showing through torn fabric. Waiting for me. I checked my phone. One new text from Dale. Don't go in there. Too late. I walked into Theater 3. The air inside Theater 3 tasted metallic, like licking a battery. Each breath coated my tongue with copper, made my sinuses ache. Carbon monoxide has no taste, no smell. That's what makes it dangerous. But this was something else. Something my brain was interpreting as flavor, because it couldn't categorize the sensation any other way. I walked down the center aisle. The compressed seats flanked me on both sides, 47 silent witnesses to whatever was happening. The fabric was warm when I brushed past row C. Body temperature, maybe higher. Seat A1 waited in the front row. The compression was extreme now. The cushion had collapsed completely, showing the wooden frame underneath. The metal springs were twisted, torqued into shapes that suggested massive weight had been applied slowly over hours. I stood in front of it, stared at the empty space that wasn't empty. I'm not sitting down, I said to the room. The projector clicked on, not the mechanical whir from last night. This was different, smoother, digital. The screen lit up with that blank white glow that precedes a film. Then numbers appeared. A countdown. 10, 9, 8. I'm not watching, I said. 7, 6, 5. I turned toward the exit, started walking back up the aisle. The door slammed shut. Not wind, not accident. It swung on its hinges with force, the sound echoing through the theater like a gunshot. The lock clicked. 4, 3, 2. I kept walking, faster now. My hand found the door handle, turned it, locked from the outside. Impossible. There was no outside lock on Theater 3, just an interior push bar that opened from inside for fire code compliance. 1. The film started. I pressed my forehead against the door, closed my eyes, focused on the metal handle's texture, the cool surface. Anything except what was happening behind me. The soundtrack was familiar. Children laughing. Birthday party sounds. Cake and candles and someone singing. My mother's voice. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. I knew this trick. Knew it was designed to make me turn around. Make me look. Rule number 7. Never watch the screen during the monthly screening. But this wasn't the monthly screening. This was daylight. November 6th, 2025, 3:47 p.m. according to my phone. The rules shouldn't apply outside the monthly window. Except I'd broken them, triggered something, made the boundaries porous. Ethan, sweetie, turn around. You're missing your birthday. My mother died when I was 4. Aneurysm while she was grocery shopping at the Festival Foods on South Ridge Road. I found out years later that she'd been buying ingredients for my birthday cake. Chocolate with vanilla frosting. My favorite. We never had the party, but the screen was showing it anyway. I could hear it playing out behind me. My mother's voice, clear and happy, singing to a child who never got to blow out candles. "Just one look," she said. "Just see what could have been." My hands were shaking. I turned the handle again, harder. The lock held. "I know you're not real," I said. My voice cracked. "My mother is dead." "So am I," she replied. "So are you. You just haven't accepted it yet." The projector light changed color. I could see the shift even with my eyes closed, red bleeding through my eyelids, warm and insistent. "Joseph Novak died here in 1963. My mother's voice continued. "Your grandfather. Except he wasn't your grandfather yet, was he? Because after he died, something else took his place. Walked home to that house on Fisk Street, raised your father, taught you to fish. That's not true. Then why can't you remember his face clearly? Why did the photographs look wrong when you study them too long?" I opened my eyes but kept them locked on the door. The metal showed my reflection, distorted, warped by the curved surface. I was wearing the suit, the gray one from 1963. "You've always been here," my mother said. "You've always been in seat A1. Every memory you have of life outside this theater is just something you watched on the screen. Just another film we showed you while you slept. I have a life. A father in the hospital. An apartment on the east side. Do you? Or do you have memories of those things? Memories we gave you?" The projector clicked and whirred. Film reels spinning. "Turn around, Ethan. See the truth." I pulled out my phone. Battery at 38%. Signal was good. I called Dale. He answered immediately. "Where are you?" "Theater 3. Door's locked. I need you to open it from outside." "I'm 20 minutes away. I went to the hardware store to buy carbon monoxide detectors. Ethan, don't listen to anything you hear in there. The gas levels must be spiking." "It's not gas. It is gas." I called a building inspector this morning. Emergency request. He's meeting me at the theater in 15 minutes. We're going to find the leak and shut it down permanently. The film behind me changed. I could hear it. Different soundtrack now. Not birthday party. Something else. Mechanical sounds. Breathing apparatus. Hospital equipment. My father's room at Bellin. The monitors. The IV drip. "Your father's dying," my mother's voice said. Except it wasn't my mother anymore. Just a flat, mechanical reading. "Stage 4 lung cancer. 6 weeks left, maybe 8. You're staying at this job because you need the money for his treatment, but the treatment won't work. You know that." "Shut up. He's dying the way Joseph Novak died. Slowly. Painfully. Oxygen deprivation. That's not the same thing." "It's exactly the same. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Lung cancer. Both ways of dying where you can't breathe. Both ways where you suffocate slowly while the people you love watch helplessly." The screen showed my father's monitors now. I couldn't see it, but I could hear the beeping. The specific rhythm of his heart rate. 72 beats per minute. The oxygen alarm that went off when his saturation dropped below 90. "Wouldn't it be easier?" the voice asked. "Sit down. Watch the film. Let go." I heard footsteps in the theater, behind me. Multiple people walking down the aisles, taking their seats. The audience was arriving. But it was daylight. It was November 6th, not the monthly screening date. This wasn't supposed to happen, unless I'd been wrong about the dates, unless time had slipped while I was in here. I checked my phone. 3:52 p.m., 5 minutes since I'd entered. But it felt like hours. "The carbon monoxide distorts time perception," Dale's voice said through the phone. I'd forgotten I was still on the call. "Makes minutes feel longer. Makes you confused. Ethan, you need to break that door down. Use something heavy. Don't wait for me." I looked around Theater 3. The seats were filling up. Not with people. Not exactly. With impressions of people. 46 seats compressed by invisible weight. Only seat A1 remained empty. The projector showed a new image. The screen reflected in the door's metal surface, distorted but visible. It showed me, sitting in seat A1, watching a film. But I wasn't in the seat. I was standing at the door. I could see my reflection in the metal, standing, facing away from the screen. Two versions of me. One standing, one sitting. "Which one is real?" my mother's voice asked. I grabbed the nearest fire extinguisher from the wall mount. Heavy, red, last inspection dated 2019. I swung it at the door handle. Metal hit metal with a sound that hurt my ears. The handle dented but held. I swung again. The extinguisher's weight made my shoulders burn. Again. Again. The lock broke on the fifth hit. The door swung open. Fresh air hit my face. Real air. Cold. Carrying the smell of November in Wisconsin. Ice and exhaust fumes and dead leaves. I stumbled into the lobby. Behind me, Theater 3 went dark. The projector shut off. The compressed seats remained, but the audience impressions were fading, slowly filling back to normal shape. Dale's truck pulled into the parking lot. I could see it through the lobby windows. He jumped out along with a man in a county inspector's uniform, carrying equipment. They ran inside. Dale grabbed my shoulders. "You okay?" "I don't know." The inspector was already moving toward Theater 3, holding a digital meter with a small screen. He stepped inside the theater and checked the device. His face went pale. "We need to evacuate the building, now." He looked at Dale. "The carbon monoxide levels in this room are over 300 parts per million. Sustained exposure at this level is fatal." Dale pulled me toward the exit. "How long was he in there?" His phone says 5 minutes, but it felt longer. The inspector followed us out. 5 minutes at 300 ppm causes severe headache, dizziness, nausea. 20 minutes causes loss of consciousness. An hour is fatal. We stood in the parking lot while the inspector made calls. Fire department, building department. OSHA. I sat on the curb and watched the Starlight Cinema. The building looked the same as always. Worn brick, faded marquee. Nothing sinister about it in daylight. But I could still feel it. Seat A1, waiting for me. Dale sat next to me. "You see now?" "It's gas. Just gas. Makes you hallucinate. Makes you think dead people are talking to you." I wanted to believe him, but when I looked at my reflection in his truck's side mirror, I was still wearing the gray suit. And 47 people stood behind me in the parking lot. When I turned around, no one was there. The fire department arrived within 12 minutes. 3 trucks, sirens cutting through the afternoon quiet of Washington Street. Firefighters in hazmat suits entered the Starlight with detection equipment, while Dale and I sat on the curb across the street, wrapped in emergency blankets that crinkled when we moved. The inspector, his badge read Thomas Lindeman, Brown County Building Safety, stood near his van, talking into his phone. I caught fragments. Decades of exposure, criminal negligence, immediate closure order. An ambulance pulled up. Paramedics checked my vital signs, shined lights in my eyes, asked me questions designed to assess cognitive function. What day was it? Who was the president? Could I count backward from 100 by sevens? I answered everything correctly, but my head felt stuffed with cotton, thoughts moving slowly through thick air. "You're lucky," the paramedic said. Her name tag read Chen. I almost laughed. Even in real life, the universe was using AI-generated names. Carboxyhemoglobin levels are elevated but not critical. You'll need oxygen therapy, maybe overnight observation. I have to work tonight. Not here, you don't. Lindeman walked over, clipboard in hand. This building is condemned as of 4:17 p.m. No one enters until we locate and repair the source of the leak. Dale stood up, emergency blanket falling from his shoulders. How bad is it? Theater 3 is reading over 300 ppm, lethal concentration. But here's what's strange. Lindeman consulted his notes. The levels dropped dramatically outside that specific room. The lobby is at 15 ppm. Theaters 1 and 2 are reading 5 to 8, still elevated but not immediately dangerous. So the leak is localized to Theater 3? Appears that way. We're bringing in thermal imaging to trace the ventilation system. But my preliminary assessment is that Theater 3 has a separate furnace circuit that was never properly integrated with the 1964 repairs. He flipped through his clipboard papers. I pulled the original building permits. In 1963, Theater 3 had an independent heating system, one of those old gravity furnaces in a crawl space beneath the floor. After the tragedy, the owner claimed he'd removed it and connected everything to a central HVAC system. But I don't think he did. I think he just sealed off the crawl space and left the old furnace in place. For 62 years, I said. Furnaces don't decompose. If it was sealed off, forgotten about, it could have been slowly corroding down there, developing cracks in the heat exchanger, leaking carbon monoxide into Theater 3 through the original ductwork. Dale sat back down heavily. So everyone who's worked overnight shifts here. Everyone who spent time in Theater 3 has been exposed to chronic low-level carbon monoxide poisoning, Lindeman finished, which causes hallucinations, memory problems, time distortion, makes people see things that aren't there. Shared experiences can develop when multiple people are exposed to the same environment, folie à plusieurs, but chemically induced. I thought about the monthly screenings, 47 people filing into Theater 3 at 11:45 p.m., sitting in silence, watching a screen that showed their deaths. The audiences, I said. The people who come once a month. Are they real? Lindeman looked confused. What people? Dale's hand gripped my shoulder. A warning. Nothing, I said. The gas made me see things. A firefighter emerged from the starlight, pulling off his respirator. He conferred with Lindeman, pointing at the building, gesturing toward the foundation. Lindeman nodded and turned back to us. They've found the crawl space access. It's behind a false wall in the equipment room. Someone really didn't want anyone finding it. The equipment room, where I'd heard footsteps during the screening, where the sounds had continued deeper than the space should have allowed. Not supernatural, just a hidden crawl space with a corroded furnace. Rational explanation, scientific, safe. But my reflection in the ambulance window still showed me wearing the gray suit. The hospital kept me overnight. St. Vincent's, not Bellin. Different wing, different department. They put me in a room with oxygen tubes and monitors that beeped in rhythms similar to my father's equipment 3 buildings away. Dale visited around 8 in the evening. He looked exhausted, older somehow. The fire marshal confirmed it, he said, sitting in the visitor chair. Original gravity furnace from 1947, still in the crawl space. Heat exchanger cracked in at least 3 places. It's been leaking carbon monoxide directly into Theater 3's ventilation system for decades. Since 1963? Probably earlier. The crack that killed those 47 people was likely there for months before the fatal night. Small leak, gradual buildup. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, it was too late. I adjusted my oxygen tube. So the rules. The monthly screenings. The audience. All hallucinations. Dale was quiet for a long moment. The gas explains most of it. Shared hallucinations among staff members who've all been exposed to the same toxin in the same environment. Your brain trying to make sense of symptoms, dizziness, time distortion, paranoia, by creating a narrative. Ghosts are easier to understand than invisible poison. But I've worked there since 1989, 36 years. That's a lot of exposure. He rubbed his face. Sometimes I'm not sure what I actually experienced versus what the carbon monoxide made me believe I experienced. The ticket stub, I said, the one that said next month. That was real. I still have it. Let me see it. I reached for my jeans, folded on the chair next to the bed, found the pocket, pulled out the ticket stub. It was blank. Just a rectangle of cardboard, no printing, no date, no pencil writing on the back. Carbon monoxide affects memory formation, Dale said gently. Makes you certain you experienced things that never happened. I've been researching it all afternoon. There are documented cases of entire families developing shared false memories from chronic CO exposure. I stared at the blank ticket. I remembered the typewriter font, the date, the message that changed. But maybe I didn't. Maybe my brain had invented all of it. Dale stood up. The starlights closed indefinitely. Full remediation, structural inspection, ventilation system replacement. They're talking about tearing out Theater 3 completely, rebuilding from the foundation up. What about the people who died in 1963? They're installing a memorial plaque. 47 names, proper recognition of what happened. The owner back then buried the story, paid off families to keep quiet. Time to tell the truth. After he left, I lay in the hospital bed and tried to separate real memories from false ones. My grandfather's face kept shifting when I tried to picture it. Sometimes clear, sometimes blurred. Sometimes I wasn't sure if I was remembering him or remembering photographs. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Seat A1 is still waiting. I blocked the number, turned off my phone. The nurse came in at 10 to check my vitals. Everything normal. Blood oxygen at 98%. No signs of permanent damage. You can go home tomorrow morning, she said, but avoid any enclosed spaces with potential gas leaks for at least a month. Your body needs time to fully clear the carbon monoxide from your system. I was released at 9 the next morning. Dale picked me up, drove me back to my apartment. We didn't talk much during the drive. As we passed the Starlight, I saw work crews setting up scaffolding. Yellow caution tape surrounded the building. A sign on the door read, "Closed by order of Brown County Building Safety Division." Real consequences, physical repairs, scientific explanations. But when I looked at the lobby windows, I saw 47 faces pressed against the glass, watching me drive away. I blinked and they were gone. Just reflections of clouds. Nothing more. Dale dropped me at my apartment. Take a week off. Paid. The Starlight's workers' comp will cover it. I already filed the paperwork. Thanks. Ethan? He kept his hands on the steering wheel, not looking at me. Do you remember the rules card? The laminated one I gave you. Yes. I've been thinking about it. I can't remember when I made it, or who told me the rules. They're just something I've always known, like they've always been part of working there. He finally turned to face me. I checked my files this morning. There's no copy of the rules in any of my records, no documentation. Like it never existed except in our heads. My hand went to my pocket automatically. The laminated card was gone. Must have fallen out at some point during the evacuation. Or maybe it had never been there at all. The gas, I said. The gas, Dale agreed, but neither of us sounded convinced. The Starlight Cinema reopened 6 months later. April 2026. Spring in Green Bay. Ice finally melting off the bay. Crocuses pushing through the mud on Webster Avenue. I didn't go to the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Didn't need to see the renovated lobby or the rebuilt Theater 3, now called Theater 3 Memorial Space, with 47 names engraved on a bronze plaque near the entrance. Dale sent me photos. The new ventilation system, the carbon monoxide detectors installed in every room, the dedicated memorial wall showing photographs of the victims from 1963, properly honored after 6 decades of silence. The investigation had expanded beyond the Starlight. Building safety inspectors found similar violations in 12 other structures on Washington Street. Old buildings from the 40s and 50s with original furnaces that had never been properly updated. 3 more cases of chronic carbon monoxide poisoning were identified among longtime employees of businesses in the area. The local news ran a series about it. The Invisible Killer, Green Bay's Hidden Gas Crisis. My story was featured anonymously. Overnight worker exposed to lethal levels, experienced severe hallucinations, forced emergency inspection that may have saved dozens of lives. They interviewed a neurologist from Aurora Baycare who explained how carbon monoxide poisoning creates vivid, consistent hallucinations, how it damages the hippocampus, distorting memory formation, how victims often develop elaborate narratives to explain their symptoms, especially in environments with tragic histories. Scientific, rational, safe. My dad died in January, peacefully, in his sleep at Bellin Hospital. The cancer treatment had bought him 3 extra months. Not much, but enough for Christmas. Enough for him to tell me he was proud of me for getting help, for forcing the inspection that closed the Starlight. You did what your grandpa couldn't, he said 2 days before he passed. You spoke up. You saved people. I sold his house in March, used the money to enroll at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, HVAC repair program. Seemed fitting. Learned to fix the systems that had almost killed me. Spend my life making sure other buildings were safe. But some nights I still see them. 47 people in the peripheral vision, standing in parking lots, sitting in empty theaters when I go to see a movie at Marcus Cinema or the new AMC in Ashwaubenon, never looking directly at me. Just present. Waiting. My therapist says it's trauma response. PTSD from the carbon monoxide exposure combined with my father's death. The brain creating patterns where none exist, seeking meaning in random occurrence. She's probably right. Probably. Last week I drove past the Starlight. The marquee was lit up, showing times for some superhero movie I'd never heard of. People were lined up at the ticket kiosk. Normal Friday night crowd. Theater 3 was dark. The memorial space wasn't used for showings anymore. Just a quiet room where people could sit and remember. Pay respects. As I watched, a little girl walked up to the entrance. Yellow sundress, green scrunchie in her hair. She pressed her face against the glass, peering into the lobby. I blinked and she was gone. Just a trick of the light. Reflection from passing headlights. Carbon monoxide doesn't leave permanent damage if treated early enough. The doctors confirmed it. My brain is fine. My memory is reliable, but I keep the blank ticket stub in my wallet anyway. The one Dale said I imagined. The one that shouldn't exist. Sometimes late at night, I take it out and look at it. Still blank. But if I hold it at the right angle, in the right light, I can almost see the typewriter font. Almost read the date. Almost see the words, next month, seat A1 is waiting. Almost.